So I don't know if I do bear a passing resemblance to Louis Spence. I have also been described as a poor man's Pep Guardiola as well. I think both of them are quite insulting on one level. But anyway, I'm here to talk about personalization in the search journey, but probably not as you expect me to talk about it. And the reason is, I'm not a search expert. And that'll become quite apparent as we go through this conversation now. So what am I here to talk about? Well, firstly, because I'm vain, I'm going to talk a little bit about me. When I was a kid, probably like many of you guys in the audience, you had a dream, and my dream was to be a parachuter, because my father was in the parachute regiment. And it was only when I had an unfortunate incident at the age of 8, which involved a first-floor window, a bed sheet, and multiple fractures, that I was completely disabused of this notion. And I thought, what the hell am I going to do? And somehow, I ended up in marketing. And I've got like a weird confession now, because what I want to be now is a comb. And that's probably a bit odd to hear from a follically challenged person. But hopefully, by the end of this conversation, you'll all want to be combs too. Maybe. We'll see. So why combs? Well, it does bear a sort of a playback to the marketing challenge and what I think is happening with marketing today. And I think marketing's under a lot of pressure. And I think marketing's under pressure because we're all consumers, we all buy stuff. And as we just said in the previous presentation, we have high expectations. And those expectations are always changing, always evolving. And it's getting harder and harder for marketing to keep up with some of those consumer expectations. And the reason those expectations are changing is because of brands like these guys. So I think Amazon's okay, but the thing that they have completely nailed in terms of making my expectations from other brands harder for them to achieve is they make things convenient for me. In terms of my buying experience, in terms of my finding products experience, in terms of the post-purchase experience, they just make it simple. And this is probably reflected in the fact that they have won for the second year in a row, might even be the third year in a row, the sort of most loyal brand in the world in 2018. And when you look at research from the DMA, one of the things that they believe, the sort of customer engagement research they did in 2018, is the thing that they believe drives loyalty and therefore helps Amazon retain its customers, is that loyalty is driven by consistent, personalized, which is a key word, friction-free customer experiences. And I think that is the key challenge that will help brands thrive in the future. There's lots of articles out there about how customer experience is the thing, and there's lots of people talking about it. I appreciate that. So in terms of what I understand by customer experience, it's not user experience. Well, it sort of is. It's not just what you do on the web. It's not what happens when you buy a product and it goes wrong, or you take a service and something happens and how the brand responds to it. It's all of those things combined together. The product has to be good, or the service has to be good. The sales process has to feel valuable to you as the consumer. Well, if you buy stuff and things go wrong, the customer service better be good. And marketing must deliver what marketing needs to deliver. And it's only through the combination of all of those things that you can actually say that a brand is nailing customer experience. And if we go to marketing's role in that, it's just one facet. We as marketers, and particularly you guys as search professionals, you cannot influence all of the customer experience. So the question is, what is marketing's role? And I think marketing's role can be summed up by a couple of these quotes here. I mean, at the end of the day, it's about being personal, it's about being consistent, it's about being seamless, it's about relevancy delivered. It's the old adage, right message, right time, right channel to the right person. That's it. These quotes, they do a bit more of a wordy job of bringing that to life. And the only reason I pick these quotes is because they're old. They're talking about personalized experiences being delivered at scale to unique individuals, you and me. But they're from 1987. So this we have not moved as fast as we need to do, because we are still not doing this anywhere. And there's a reason for that, because the marketing reality compared to the marketing dream is quite different. Delivering personalized, consistent experiences requires teams to work completely together to unify and support around the customer journey, to be customer-centric, as Jen said in the last talk. The reality is, marketing, in my experience, when I've been working with brands, and I've worked with dozens in multiple sectors, they don't deliver consistent, seamless personalization. They might do in chunks. They're often structured in legacy ways. They'll either be functions, a data team, a technology team, a web team, an email team, or they'll be maybe structured in terms of the channels that they're looking to serve. But all that happens is we serve individual silos. So we, looking out, we see our functions. The customer looking in sees the brand. And that's the massive disconnect that we have today. And it's easy to say we're crap, yeah? We're not crap. We're pretty good at what we do, mostly. But the reason marketing's lagging is because probably two key things, I think. So technology is literally just rife. It's in our lives day to day. We are all completely dependent on technology to sort of live our world, to do the things that we need to do. That results in more touch points that we have to consider in terms of how do we coordinate and deliver those personalized and seamless experiences. So a new channel arrives, a new social media platform arrives, another platform that you can't even imagine arrives, and marketing has to respond and try to consume those channels into the marketing mix. And the problem there is that adds complexity. And when you add to the fact that customers, we now have a larger voice. If people cock up, if brands cock up, we amplify that message, yeah? We tell our friends, and that can really damage brands. So marketing is struggling because of the pace of change and the complexity that exists. So this is the no shit Sherlock moment. Marketing needs to change. And probably everybody who's talking today will be talking about some type of change that needs to happen. But specifically for me, I think marketing needs to change in a few ways. We need to be focused on the customer, the unique individual. We need to be able to balance the need to have a strategy and a plan with the ability to be able to react and evolve and respond to things. And our people, the staff, the teams that we work with, we need to change too. So here are sort of three broad themes of change that I think marketing needs to sort of address. So the first one is this concept of the customer journey. And I think you can take the customer journey and you can start to restructure some of your internal ways of working to deliver a seamless experience across the entirety of that journey. So I've seen a couple of brands do it. And the key thing there is to foster relationships across the silos, is to invest the time in building the processes that allow you as different disparate teams to come together quickly, solve a problem, and then disperse and form to create the new problem going forward. But having a structure and having ways of working that support this idealized customer journey, the end-to-end experience, is going to be a key aspect of marketing in the future. The other thing is balancing the sort of two conflicting demands of strategic direction, the big vision, the grand thing that we want to do, the 24 months plan, the channels we're going to interact with, to actually the day-to-day tasks that we deliver to deliver those seamless, personalized experiences. And we have to involve some of our thinking to be able to go from the high level to the detailed in a structured way. And one of the things I think we can take inspiration from, and if there's a book that you're going to read this year and you haven't read it, read a book called Hacking Marketing from Scott Brinker. So Scott Brinker is a techie. And what he does is he takes technology principles about how that we develop and design software, and we apply that to how marketing is executed. And the end result of this is have a high-level plan, and then do things in what we call sprints, which are effectively 2 to 4 week periods of time, where you give a simple or a well-defined task, and you look to deliver that task and move on to the next iteration of the next problem to fix. But you're doing that because you're able to sort of bring that all the way back up to the vision. The other aspect of the sort of bimodal piece is we need to be comfortable that there's a difference between being innovative and then having processes and ways of working that scale. So innovation is about experimenting and failing fast. But when we get stuff out there, we want it to work. We want it to be automated. We want it to take as little effort as possible to maintain. So we're trying to push standardization and not failing at all. In innovation, we're trying to explore and understand new opportunities, whereas when we're trying to scale marketing execution, we're trying to exploit the things that we are needing to do. And we also have to deal with the difference between ambiguity and being precise, and then speed and reliability. So they are conflicting facets. So when we're looking at marketing budgets, marketing teams should be putting aside a chunk of time, budget, cost, and effort and direction for innovation, and should almost expect to get nothing back. Now, typically, the 80-20 rule applies. You can have anywhere from 0 to 20% of your budget, time, resource, whatever it is that you want to allocate to innovation, and the rest can be taken on the scaling pieces, the things that are going to deliver you the tangible results and KPIs and help you meet the objectives that you have in place. So I think this constant conflict between strategy and being able to react quick, between being able to innovate and test and being able to scale those capabilities is something that businesses need to be set up to support as well going forward. The other aspect, I think, is the most important, and that's us in this room. So you can fixate on the customer journey. You can build new processes to manage the short-term, the long-term, the speed, agility aspects. But it's the people who will make that work. And I think for me, the evolution in the people has to be in terms of how we evolve from being specialists, working in silos, to start slowly having a more of a comb shape. So this goes back to the sort of comb premise before. So there's a specialist, there's a T model, which you've probably heard, which is basically have a broad, common, shared view of marketing capabilities. So there's knowledge bases that could be content, it could be a bit about technology, it could be data analytics, it could be the creative process, it could be psychology of people and consumers. Have a broad but shallow knowledge of all of those things that unify the marketing practice, but keep your specialism. The next evolution of that is pie-shaped people, which is effectively talking to the fact that in marketing, as well as many other industries, you often have creative types, and then you often have technical types, to use those two terms. And being pie-shaped is about trying to put a foot in both camps, trying to develop a specialism, and that might be in data analytics. And it might also be trying to develop a specialism in terms of how you develop and deliver content or tell creative stories. But the whole point of being pie-shaped is to build those conflicting, sometimes different, sets of skills and knowledge base to give you that balance so you can straddle both worlds. And the final piece, if you sort of really pull it off, is that you start to develop multiple specialisms. Now, they're not all, you're not going to go deep on all of them. You may be shallower in certain places, but the basic premise is you will know more about lots of different things. And the reason that's important is because most of the teams going forward are going to require these cross-functional teams working around a common customer experience and customer journey goal. And so therefore, developing and becoming combs is how you can protect your job in the future. So I get the comb reference, but what the hell has this got to we've got to do with search and personalization? So I did say it's going to be tenuous. So the personalization bit is that it's my simple view that because consumer expectations are increasing, because marketing's lagging behind, you can't really tackle the types of personalization at scale without some significant fundamental changes in how marketing works. The link to search is a bit more of an obtuse one. So 18 months ago, I knew nothing about the search marketing space. And it was only when our agency combined with another agency, it was a search expert, so Brand of 3, as part of the edit company. And I had to start to slowly develop my own knowledge around search and search marketing. And the conclusion I come to is that as search professionals, you have a massive advantage over other types of marketers because you are already starting to combine different aspects of marketing execution. So, you deal with content, you're dealing with user experience, you're dealing with data and taxonomies, you're dealing with technical implementation, you're dealing with the commercial aspects of being able to prove back the value. So already, as a search professional, you have a springboard to launch from, to move towards being comb-shaped and to becoming that idealized marketer of the future, the ones that are sticky, that are going to still be around in 5 to 10 years. And I think the only thing that you need to do is start to take some steps to build upon the foundations that you put in place. So specifically, I think these are some of the steps that as a search professional you should be looking to take. So the first one is hard skills are great, but if you lack these basic, common, softer skills, the chances are you will fail to develop as a rounded professional and you'll fail to be part of that critical team going forward. So if you can't collaborate, if you have challenges in terms of communicating your ideas, if you're unable to basically think critically, challenge ideas, find innovative solutions to difficult problems, and most importantly, if you have that lack of curiosity, you're not interested in learning, I think they're some of the things that will hold you back. So if you can start to develop and work on those softer skills and develop those skills, they will give you some of the characteristics and traits that will be essential going forward. The other one is, in your organizations, is to try and invest in a base knowledge that all of the marketing teams have. So everybody in marketing, ideally, working in that space, from the techies to the data scientists, to the creatives, to the content writers, to copywriters, should all have a reasonably decent base understanding of these principles. So psychology, how do consumers and how do people think, because that's going to affect and inform how we market to them. Data and analytics, because the data is the new oil. Well, it's the old oil nowadays, but it's the thing that allows us to quantify and qualify and make better decisions. Storytelling, because everything else could be quite dry. If you can't tell a compelling story to a consumer, are they going to build and invest in the brand? The basic premise of branding is a key aspect. MarTech, because there's more and more of it, it's getting simpler to use, but it's also getting more complicated because there's more vendors offering more technology solutions. So having the base understanding so you can hold a conversation with a developer is key. Focusing on the money, how does marketing deliver to the bottom line of the organization is a key aspect. Invest in time to understand agile techniques, and that's an uppercase A in the agile list. The key thing is how do you work as a team collaboratively to get stuff done more quickly? What are the tools, techniques, and processes that you can follow? And that's where that Hacking Marketing book from Scott Brinker is a good read. And finally as well, how does research play a part in marketing going forward? So all of that's great, but the key thing is also don't just learn, try. I've worked for Edit for 15 years, and in that time, I've done 12 different roles. And every time I've had an opportunity to move, I've moved. And I've always tried to move slightly sideways or diagonal. I've tried to go into an area that I've never worked in before, be that working commercially with clients, be that working with the creative team on developing content, be that working with the planning team on developing innovative communications processes, or finally ending up where I end up now, which is in terms of technology. But it's by doing these things that you start to learn and understand them more intimately and deeply. And the other one is just be that person who asks the difficult questions. Why are we doing this? What benefits is it going to achieve? Why am I being set those KPIs when they completely contradict other KPIs over here? Why do I have to compete for budget against the content team? Why are we dealing with these things in this way? And don't be afraid to make connections. So there was in the previous presentation, there was about, basically hug a developer, embrace a developer, speak to your colleagues, make connections across the technical teams, the data teams, the content teams, the creative teams. Be that person who's in people's faces. Because with the foundations that you have in search, you have that springboard upon what to base your future going forward. So the final question is, that all sounds like a lot of hard work, and this is the final slide for me. So why should you bother? What's in it for you? So if you're out there and you Google integrated marketing or T-shaped marketer or M-shaped marketer, the one thing that you'll find is loads of stats and facts and figures about how those people become the future leaders of the marketing function and how they typically out-earn their peers. That's across the board, basically. So there's fortune. You probably enjoy the job a bit more as well, be more varied. There'll be more things that you get to experience on a day-to-day basis. But the other one, just to close, is that when your colleagues, when your peers were asked about the future of search, and they were asked about the impact of AI and whether or not they felt that AI and machines would take search jobs in the future, 72% of your peers said in the next 5 to 10 years they could see search being mostly done by machines. I don't know if that's true. I'm not an expert enough in search to say if that's true or not. But the key take-home there is, if you're the person who is looking to embrace and develop those broader skills, if you're the person who's thinking about the end-to-end customer experience, you're the person who's investing in developing those skills in different but complementary areas of marketing, and you're the person that's thinking about the bigger picture, you won't be the person that does get replaced by a machine. You might be making the decision to put the machine in the first place, which is a different challenge, but that's the key. And I think, for me, in my experience, I'm not completely M-shaped. I've got a massive load of development to go. As I say, 18 months, I could write on the back of a postage stamp what I knew about search. Now I could probably fill a page and a half of A4. So I've moved slowly in the right direction, but I am nowhere near the finished article. But that's why I aspire to be a comb. That's why I continue to ask difficult questions. That's why I poke my noses in things that I should really have no interest in. And that's why I still love marketing. So that was my pep talk for 20 minutes. Hope some of it was of use. Thanks very much. Cheers.